Hello, company, and welcome to Show People, the podcast that shines a spotlight on the UK performing arts industry and those dedicated to their craft. Covering the latest news and issues, what to see and do, showcasing theatrical talent, and always trying to inform, educate, and entertain. My name is Andrew Keats, I'm a director, and I'm your host. Now, today's guest is an actor and director who shot to industry attention in the original London production of Avenue Q. She is synonymous with challenging new works such as Ordinary Days, Tomorrow Morning, Tick Tick Boom, and is certainly no stranger to commercial theatre in productions such as Fame, Sister Act, and Mamma Mia. Please be upstanding for the one, the only, Miss Julie Atherton! Welcome to the show!
Thank you very much.
It's lovely to have you. Julie is beaming on this lovely sunny day. Coming up on today's show, well, on the soapbox, we'll be discussing women in theatre. Our times are changing. I'll be getting my theatrical tips out of things to do this July 2018. On the platform, we have an exclusive from a brand new album which will never, ever, ever be available in shops. Yeah. Also, I'll be interviewing Julie Atherton all about her life, career, and setting her some infamous Show People podcast challenges too. You're listening to the Show People podcast with Andrew Keats and Julie Atherton! Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you very much. It's nice to be here.
So, you have been a busy bee at Trafalgar Studios.
Yes, I have.
So, for those who don't know, Julie's been in a production of The Grinning Man. Can you just enlighten our listeners a little bit about what made that show so extraordinary and why it was so unusual?
It was really hard to describe it, basically. It still is. It's very hard to describe. But it's based on the Victor Hugo novel of The Man Who Laughs. And it's what I would call like the Tim Burton style of musical. Yeah. It's quite dark, but it's witty as well. So it's kind of a comedy tragedy.
Yeah.
And there was puppeteering and... well, there was Julian Bleach. I mean, anything with Julian Bleach in it is just incredible. I just want him to talk me to sleep every night.
And obviously not the first time that you've encountered puppets. You are well known and associated with these wonderful, wonderful
but very
beings.
Different puppeteering.
So was it marionettes? How did they work?
Bunraku puppeteering, which is it's not lip syncing or anything like that. You're moving as one. So there was normally 3 people on our Grinning puppet. And so I was on the feet most of the time. So you're using a hand each, obviously, for the 2 legs. And then whoever was on the middle was on the chest and the right arm. And then Louis, who played Grinning, was on the head and the left arm. But then sometimes we'd lose the middle one. So I was on the middle, the right arm, and both the feet. So that was hard. It was like, oh God, here we go. But I loved that bit because it was such a challenge. And sometimes it went wrong and, but it's all about breathing together and working as one.
What are some of the principles of puppetry that people should understand, that you bring and you're constantly thinking about to bring essentially just some materials to life?
Yeah, I mean, you can break it down in so many different ways, but basically I look in the mirror and see how I would do it as an actor, especially if you're working with a little boy, as ours was. And if it's an animal, the same way, you try and move like the animal or watch the kind of animal that you would like to move like and just watch what goes forward first. Do they walk from the knee first? Do they walk from the heel first? Do they, it's where you wouldn't think, like just doing the legs, you wouldn't think, I'm just going to go left, right, no. Because there's all sorts of stuff. There's joints in the knees, so you have to kind of flick the knee forward. And there's just little techniques that even if somebody else was to do exactly the same thing, they'd probably do a different technique. But you can teach your own technique, of course, but it's best to just work it out yourself, I think.
Is working with puppets sometimes quite selfless? Because, of course, I know people are looking at you, but their real focus is and should be on the puppet.
I absolutely love it because you just get lost in it. And that was my favourite bit in the show. And even somebody said to me, oh, you were puppeteering for quite a long time at the beginning. Was that quite frustrating? I was like, that's my favourite bit. Oh. I love that because you just get to concentrate on something that isn't you. So, you know, I was never really nervous. The only thing you're nervous about is if something goes wrong, you think, okay, quick, we've all got to think together now. And they're the best bits.
Yeah. And again, a lot of people now know, however, there will be some people who still think, oh, it's that Julie Atherton who sang Just So. Obviously, you're now very much pursuing and enjoying a career as a director.
Yes.
And when you told me a few years ago, there was no surprise. It was like, well, that makes sense. What discoveries have you been making as a director now? What have you been working on?
I've done a lot of shows with Mountview, actually. Mm-hmm. That's where I'm cutting my teeth, it seems. I did a show with YMT as well, and a few workshops. And I guess I'm just learning to trust myself, really.
Yeah.
I think that's the main thing, because as an actor, you sometimes they ask you for your opinion, but they don't actually want it.
Well, some bad directors, maybe.
Yeah, and when you do give your opinion, sometimes, you're a bit mouthy, especially if it comes from a girl. Oh, she's mouthy. So it is nice to just trust myself, really, and work as a team. And it's been nice to... I think the reason I wanted to be a director is because I had worked with a few... How should we put this in a nice...
Crap directors?
Yeah. And I just thought, I think I could probably do this myself. And also just the way actors are treated in auditions sometimes. And it got me angry. And I just thought, there's no need for this. And it's a very male-dominated profession. And with that comes quite an aggressive way of working. Mm-hmm. And if you're not that aggressive, then apparently you're not as good. And I don't think that's true. I think there's a much nicer environment when you can make your actors feel safe and fearless. And I think the moment you make anyone in that room feel insecure, then you've got fireworks, you've got animosity, and it's just not a very artistic way of working. I just want to take the business attitude out of, because it's like, we've got the producers for that. They bang on about business enough as it is. And when they try and get into the creative process, I think it's like a cancer. It's horrible. And that's when the shows aren't working so much, because it's like, yes, I get this is a business and you're trying to run a business, but surely the best thing to do is stay out of the creative stuff, because you're quite obviously not a creative person.
I've been going through your CV.
Uh-oh.
And I have been having such a ball going through.
Such a laugh.
Well, no, in a wonderful way, because there are musical theatre geeks out there. That there are people out there who just strive, and I know it's a passion of yours, to have musical theatre just recognised as a proper art form, and it's not
apologise for it.
Yeah,
I would have them to apologise for it.
But I go through this CV, and there are so many shows which perhaps, within the dates that they were taking place, were brand new. As in that, they were shows that everyone had heard about were happening all the way in America. Names like Jason Robert Brown, for example, wasn't a known name. And, we look at things like The Last 5 Years, which is here. And there is, again, I'm so excited to go through. But, of course, on the Show People podcast, I can't cover every single credit. Otherwise, we will be here till next Tuesday. So... it is time for your first Show People podcast challenge, Julie Atherton.
No.
Julie Atherton, I have a copy of your CV in front of me. Freshly, the ink is almost still wet on your headshot from 3 years ago. You have to name as many of your credits within 60 seconds.
Oh, my God.
Julie Atherton, your Show People podcast challenge starts now.
Mamma Mia, Fame, Just So, Hired Man, Lift, Fame.
Fame
God, why did I say that? Oh God, Avenue Q.
Yes.
Grinning Man. Shakespeare and Hathaway. Doctors. Oh no. I can't think of any more. What else have I done?
Park Theatre and Fimbra Theatre.
Ordinary Days.
Yes, and
To
most
Raise
recently,
McCann.
yes. Think pantomime.
Oh, Cinderella at the Lyric. Oh my goodness.
Sister Mary Robert.
Yes, Sister Act.
At the Landau Theatre playing Cat.
Tomorrow morning.
Yes, very good. Going over to television credits.
I think I said them.
This is amazing. Don't forget, not Rocky Horror Show, but...
Shock Treatment.
Yes. Speculation Entertainment Workshop.
Alice.
Very, very good. I mean, look, without being silly, there is just endless. I mean, there are just pages after pages. I mean, as I've said before, we'll release this in hardback next week. But you have missed out some of my favourite credits that I was going through.
Oh, you're taking your time.
Never forget, you were the cougar in the Morrison's advert.
I mean, never forget that. That never happened.
What did we have here? You, what the fuck was this? Cindy in Apocalypse Wow. What is Apocalypse Wow?
That's where I met Ashley Gray and Stevie Webb.
No.
Yeah. Stevie Webb became my best friend after that.
So what was Apocalypse Wow?
It was something that Andy Briley got us involved in. It was a little workshop of a show that was... that's all I'm going to say.
Sure, we'll pass over this. It's okay. We'll talk about more, far more highbrow entertainment. I'm an Alien. Beam me off here for Big Toe Radio, BBC 7.
Children's radio, so it's because I can do silly voices. They're the most fun jobs, I have to say.
What else have we got here? You did Through the Door at Traff.
Yep.
What can I find?
That was another Lawrence Mark White.
What else? Oh, right, I need to ask this because you cannot have this credit on your CV without me asking. Challenge Annika. What the hell did you do on Challenge Annika?
That was with Avenue Q.
Ah.
Yeah, and we had to do a charity single. That's where I met Richard Fleischman.
Right.
And we sang Consider Yourself with him and the puppets. And we had a really good laugh doing that, actually.
I really wanted you to say, oh yeah, I flew the helicopter.
No, I didn't get no bloody helicopter.
Damn.
That was really annoying.
Well, we will, of course, talk about other groundbreaking roles, such as Apocalypse Wow, later on. But first of all, let's have just a little break.
This is Kumiko Mendel, Artistic Director of Yellow Earth Theatre. You are listening to the Show People podcast with Andrew Keats.
It is time for the Show People podcast Soapbox, the part of the show where we discuss an industry issue. Julie Atherton, what grinds your gears? What would you like to talk about today?
Women in theatre.
Are there any?
Not sure.
Just white men,
Well, there's
isn't it?
one here.
No.
But it's more in the creative side of things.
Yeah.
They're always... We're looking for women and we're looking for diversity. We're looking for this. And you think, well, look around you first and then let's talk. But yeah, to be honest, I didn't think there was much of a problem like most people listening now that are men probably don't. But seriously, I didn't think there was that big a problem until I directed a showcase at Mountview for the foundations and there was 24 girls. And 4 boys. And my brief was to take 3 separate musicals that were quite similar and put them together as a showcase. Of course, I didn't do that. I break the rules, don't I? So I started looking for musicals and it was very difficult because I kept looking down the list and it was like loads of men, not very many women.
Yeah.
And then I was looking at the writers of all these said musicals and plays. Then I started looking at plays and thought, well, I could just shove a few songs into some plays. Great. Same.
Yeah.
Absolutely the same. And I didn't realise how bad it was. And then I started to realise why I didn't like the old-fashioned musicals so much. Because they do make me roll my eyes. And I'm like, oh, really? We're rehashing that again? And it's because I don't like the female roles in them. Passive. Mainly, not all of them. Of course, I'm talking generally, but very generally.
Yeah.
And they're passive. They are, yeah. Like you say, they're so twee, and we just have to be pretty. As long as we're pretty, and we definitely have to sing soprano because
and we need a nice
we
big
can't
man.
speak in our real voice.
Yeah.
We can't get angry and speak in our real voice because that's aggressive and that's manly and that's opinionated. And I was never comfortable with playing those roles, and which was why I never really wanted to do a panto. It wasn't because I'm snobby about pantos. It's because I don't like the role.
No.
And that's why I really enjoyed doing Cinderella at the Lyric, because they made her funny.
It's funny you mentioned that now.
Ballsy.
It's funny you mentioned that now because, of course, I saw that production to support. Funny enough, it was me and Martin Sherman came to see it, the playwright Martin Sherman. And we went along to support Stevie. And I didn't know you were in it. I was like, oh, hello, Julie, Cinderella. And it was just wonderful. Like, you were such a tomboy. And why the fuck can't Cinderella be a tomboy?
Yeah, and the reason that she, the slipper only fit her is because she had 2 left feet because she couldn't dance. It was hilarious. And as soon as I read that, I was like, yeah, I'll do that. Of course.
But then I said to both Martin and I said to Stevie and you, I think at the time, this for me, this was the way panto should have been going, because I mean, there was one particular scene where it was all pretty much in text speak that the Ugly Sisters had. And it was amazing watching kids, both boys and girls, screaming with laughter and parents going, darling, do you know what they're talking about? No, I don't know. But the kids are having a marvellous time. And just finding this new language for the way that boys and girls are growing up. And do you know what? Boys don't need to just play with monster trucks and girls don't need to just play with dolls.
Yeah.
And how great to see, Stevie, who is not necessarily the most masculine of souls. I don't think that's controversial to say. And you not being the most feminine of souls and having the best friendship, which I know is also in real life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was what was so lovely as well, to get to play with my best friend.
Yeah. You and that fucking drum. And again, listeners aren't going to know what that means. I just remember you being sort of downstage left, twatting this drum. Just silliness.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. So in the end, I ended up putting a showcase together about women's rights, did it all about the suffragettes, and I just used a few plays and shoved loads of songs in and completely broke the rules, but really enjoyed it and had such an amazing time. And actually, those guys are graduating now from Mountview. I would really love to be directing them.
Do you feel a little bit powerless still? I mean, obviously, as an emerging director, I know you're working with producers, but ultimately, anybody listening to this is going, yeah, I get your point, but what can we do? Well,
I did feel powerless, yes, but I don't now. And I just think it's an attitude that we need to change ourselves, because for so long I was like, what do I do? What do I do? Because I still felt like I was at the point, like you are as an actor, of going, pick me. And there's only so much you can do that. And you lose yourself. You lose your power because you can't go, okay, well, this is what I'm going to do next, because somebody has to give you that job. So it's not like you can, craft your career the way you want it, like people seem to think that we can do. You just got to go, yeah, that fits, or that'll pay my rent, or that's a really good role I'd love to do. Let's hope I get it. But choosing those roles. So I've just started taking the reins back, basically, and creating the work myself. Obviously the work, it's going to take a while, but I've started to kind of write and craft, and all the ideas that I've had throughout my life I'm just putting down on paper, whether they're rubbish or not, and then collaborating with a few people. And
I suppose something, again, I don't know if you've considered this, but obviously the absence of women in comedy, all these panel shows that go out there, what do you see? You see 4 swelling male comics. What I've always really enjoyed about you is things like the YouTube clips, which are out there that you have just created, which is you, a camera, and your writing and your performances. Obviously, there's the more famous thing. Those. There should be, because I watch you doing that going, because I think sketch comedy, but I mean traditional sketch comedy on stage. I've been working with Steve First doing exactly that. I think that empowers female comics so much to comment on what is happening from a female perspective. Yeah.
And I think we've felt powerless. So it's like, I have to say, I went on a date the other day.
Oh, yeah.
He took me to see Ricky Gervais. And actually said, I was like, notice that all the warm-up acts are men.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, well, that's because women aren't funny. Aww. what? Exactly. So, yeah, I thought I could either launch into something here or just stay very quiet. And so I just stayed very quiet and thought, yeah, if I launch into anything, there's no point. There's just no point sometimes. But, but that's the attitude. And I get it. I get it. Because why would you think women are funny when you haven't seen any?
Yeah.
And, there's only a few women in comedy. But in America, you're allowed to be hot and funny.
Yeah.
Over here, you're not allowed to be hot, So I think a lot of people don't aspire to be that because we always think, well, as a woman, you have to be pretty because that's our only power. You have to wear makeup, you have to be pretty. But somebody caught me putting makeup on the tube the other day. And, why are you doing that? I went, because it's still a man's world.
But then the strange thing I've had, because obviously we're based in London right now, and we have friends of all colours and genders and sexualities and all this marvellous things. The thing that always really shocks me is when I go outside of London, and particularly because there is a feeling in the air, especially in our city, of the Me Too movement, for example, all of the things that are coming out about the entertainment industry.
Thank goodness for that.
Thank God for that.
Yeah.
But what amazed me, I was with people who remain unnamed because I have to see them again. And I was talking to a group of older women in their 40s and 50s, and I, thought, let's chat about. They were asking me what's London like and the Me Too movement, and did I know Kevin Spacey and all the various things that people assume because you work in the arts. I said no, and I said, but you must be great for you guys after all the shit you've been through in life. And they looked at me and went, oh, I'm not a feminist. I went, what do you mean? He went, well, I quite like making my husband dinner, and he goes and brings in. And I thought, that's part of the problem. It's a generational shift. It's not a gender shift in some respects.
Yeah.
Seeing these women going, I like the fact that I'm a housewife. I like the fact my husband does this. I like the fact that I make his dinner.
But I think there's no problem with that. It's just don't expect that.
Yeah. And don't expect everyone else to want to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Because also I think it's, because it is lovely. I love looking after people. I love doing that. But obviously I equally want to get it back. I want to get it back. I don't want that to be my job.
We at Arian have always done our very, very best to get women in production roles. And for example, in sound, in lighting, in stage management, and especially technical roles. And the reason being is there is still this perception that, playing with a sound desk or hanging lights they're boys' toys in the industry. And an extremely close friend of mine, and certainly someone that we've employed, told me, of course, all the boys go to the AV club. All the boys play with the cameras, they play with the equipment, whereas women, it wasn't perceived. And I said, well, how did you get involved? And she said, well, I like technology, so I just followed my passion. But fortunately, there were teachers that were women who recognised how she might need more attention, because from growing up, she wasn't given, some technology to play with at the age of 8. She was given a doll.
A doll. Or a cooker.
Or a fucking cooker. I mean, are you finding with the work you're doing at drama school, are you finding yourself focusing more on the girls, or are you trying to do an even playing field? How's it going to work?
I'm doing an even playing field, I think, but I'm trying to wake both boys and girls up to the fact that, girls need to be listened to with regards to being creative, and their opinions do count. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but honestly, a lot of the time in my career, if I've said something in the room and, you come out with really rubbish suggestions sometimes, because that's the way it is. You just got your voice out there, and then after a while you go, okay, I've got it. But sometimes you're silenced straight away because you came out with a rubbish idea, and it's like, oh yeah, don't ask her, she doesn't know what she's talking about. And you just think, and then you just feel like, and then you can, it's always like a male voice in the room that you just automatically respect and look up to. And even I do it as well. We all do it. We automatically go, oh, well, we'll go to the man because he knows what he's talking about, rather than the woman, and it's just a thing that you've just got to retrain yourself to do. And it's just being aware of it. And it's not berating anyone or having a go at anyone. It's just, let's just try and change it now. Let's stop arguing whether it's happening, because it just is.
Yeah.
So let's just encourage our little girls to be powerful, to be leaders and follow them. And let's just give the patriarchy a rest for a bit, because it's obviously not working. There's a lot of aggression in the world, and I wonder why that is.
I think to sum up with let's let our little girls be powerful, I can't think of a more beautiful way to end this little section. So, listeners, what do you think? Do you think actually that everything is fine and that women have one place and men have another, or our times are changing? And have you got ideas of how we can change things? Please do let me know. You can tweet the show at Show People UK using hashtag Show People Podcast, or you can join the Show People Podcast listeners forum at facebook.com/Show People Podcast. Give the page a like and join in the conversation, as if we don't talk about these things, well, we can't change them. So let's.
This is casting director Annie Rowe, and you're listening to the Show People Podcast with Andrew Keats. I hope you've learned your sides.
Julie Atherton, let's start at the very beginning.
Very good place to start.
Very good. Very good.
Oh, what an idiot.
No, everyone does it. When people refuse, there's just a tumbleweed. Just a tumbleweed. There are the occasional Sound of Music references here, and we will get on to Sound of Music Live later.
Okay.
But let's start at the very beginning. Where were you born? Where did you grow up?
Preston.
Yeah,
that's where I grew up, and moved to London when I was 18. So I've actually lived here longer than Preston.
I want to ask quite a personal question. Feel free not to answer if you don't want to. Okay. I know from a very young age you had quite a profound tragedy come into your life at the age of 3. Firstly, can I ask what happened? And do you think that has affected, of course it's affected the woman you are, but did that affect you as for better in the end? What happened? I'm trying to get how it shaped you.
Yeah, my dad was killed in a freak car accident. And so I basically grew up with my family grieving, and it's not a very nice thing. It can, tear the family apart a bit.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think our family's quite good at humour and clinging on to that. Not very good at sentimental. We've got better. But I guess because my brothers and sisters were a lot older and, a couple of them had moved out, I spent a lot of time on my own as a kid. And I was very quiet, basically mute till the age of 11, outside of the home. Obviously at home, I'd be chatting away to my mum, of course. But yeah, my mum was grieving. And so it was, it was a lot of thinking time, I guess. And I think I always privately had this little dream of being on the stage. And I listened to Miss Saigon and I thought, wow, that is definitely what I want to do. And then I saw it. I was like, don't think I'll ever get past cast as Kim.
Very unlikely.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess I just planned my escape, as it were.
And what that shyness, because I say shyness, that decision not to communicate with the outside world as a young girl. It's interesting when I see other young girls nowadays, and I'll get a mother will say to me, particularly if I'm teaching something about theatre, and they'll go, just so you know, she's shy. And I think, well, the moment you've said she's shy, she will probably be shy until the mum walks out and then she's tearing around the classroom and being a little tearaway.
But also, no, I think it's the wrong word to say shy. I think she's an observer.
Oh, I see.
And I think that's so important in this business, is to be a listener and an observer, because there's so many people that aren't, and they come into a room and they're like, blah, 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 and from the moment they start, and you're like, I'm a performer, and you're like, oh God. And they were the people I couldn't bear, especially when I went to drama schools. I was like, oh my God, people really do just come and sing in your face and start dancing around and just have so much confidence, like overconfidence. And that I was always scared of being tarred with that brush. And so people are like, oh, so you're a performer, are you? And they look at you like you're a big show off. And it's like, yeah, I am a performer, but I assure you I'm not a massive show off. I am when I want to be, when I'm just with my friends and, pissing around. But no, I think it's really important to be a listener and an observer, especially if you're going to be playing other characters. You know, you've got to watch people and see what they do, and I love doing that. I love copying people and like working people out. People fascinate me, absolutely fascinate me. So yeah.
With this horrendous tragedy, and obviously with the relationship that you were developing with your mum, do you think you ran into the arts? I mean, was that a feeling of trying to find yourself in these plays and in these musicals, or was it to escape?
I didn't really fit in anywhere at school, because I think if you have a really creative brain, school is not for you. It's just not for you. Yeah. And I tried every new term. I was like, right, here we go. I'd have a new pencil case, like new book. This is it. It's their new uniform. Like everything's going to be great. Right, here we go. And then I'd find myself looking out the window, daydreaming about something a lot more interesting than what's going on in front of me. And I think, oh my God, I haven't listened. And then they'd ask me a question. I think, I don't know. And it's not because I'm stupid. It's because I'm not interested. I do not want to know about what you're teaching me right now.
Parallelograms weren't of any interest.
Oh, God.
Quadratic equations were mine. Why did I ever need to learn about a quadratic equation? Teach me how to cook.
Yeah.
Show me how to do my tax return. That would have been great.
Absolutely. Teach life lessons and let people discover what they want. And I don't know, I've just, the schooling system.
It's broken.
It's not great, is it? Well, it's only for a certain type of person, and that type of person ends up running the country, and it's such a shame. But I just didn't have that brain, and so I did feel a little bit, I just always felt like, oh, I don't belong, but it's not that at all. It's just the system doesn't fit all, and we need to stop doing that.
And you mentioned listening to Miss Saigon. What was your first memory of being in an actual theatre? When was the first time that you saw something?
I think I went to go and see Joseph.
Right. It's an important show. That is a really important show.
Yeah.
It's some kids' first, other than Panto,
and it was
that
the
and the
choir.
Joseph Talk.
I was looking at the choir thinking, why aren't I in that?
Yeah.
How do you do that? But I guess you have to have a pushy mum at that age.
Which you didn't?
No, not at all. But she loved, she was in Amdram shows, so I'd go and see her in some shows as well. And it was exciting because she loved the fact that I was going into theatre, but she was absolutely shocked beyond belief when I said that's what I wanted to do. Yeah. You? What? You haven't spoken a word for the last... And there I was singing on stage a song that I'd written.
I've been really looking forward to talking about this.
Uh-oh.
We both went to the Mountview Academy of Theatre Arts. Yeah. I was only at Mountview for a year. I had the worst time in my life. Happy to say that. I didn't get on particularly well with anybody. I had personal tragedy in my life. I have an addictive personality. Tell me about your time at Mountview, where I understand you're a very different woman to what you are today.
Yes. It was the best and the worst times. the best of times and the worst of times. I had a ball. It was the first time away from home. It was like, do what I want. I remember I always wanted a Superman lunchbox when I was little, but I was always made to have like a My Little Pony one or something. So I got a Superman lunchbox for my first year. God, I'm such a child.
We all are. We all stay children.
And totally. And it was, I think they spent most of the time just building my confidence up, really, because I was just terrified. I still get that, really. I think everybody does. But I don't know. There was some horrendous moments where we'd have audition technique and I'd just want to throw up before it. And then afterwards it's like, what was all that about? Why was I so scared? But I am so thankful for that training, and I'm really thankful for Paul Saby's sight reading training.
But you didn't say that at the time.
Not at all. I absolutely hated it.
Terrifying.
I wanted to wet myself every single time he'd go, you stand up and sing alto number 3. And you'd think, oh God, and you'd have to sing your whole harmony on your own. And it was just so horrible. But now, my God, that kicks in, especially when I'm not listening in a note bashing session and they go, let's go from bar 64. And I go, okay. And I'll just sing it. And I think, how did I just do that?
Yeah.
Thank you, Paul Savey.
Do you know, as a man, I hated him at the time, and now I couldn't be more thankful.
Yeah.
The problem is, I mean, he was very much, he ruled with a very, very iron stick.
Yeah.
He had me in tears many, many times.
Oh, yeah.
I do think, though, I mean, this is drama schools in general. I've been to 3, but I look back at drama school. I'm not good in institutions. I had, and also that age was tough. I think we have in common losing people that were important to us, and the feeling of losing people as life goes on, and that awareness of self and empathy, and the problem of actually not feeling as strong as perhaps people want us to be. And I think drama school, there's very much be here at that time, do this, don't ask any questions, which is the worst thing you can say to a director in the world, because all a director wants to do is ask questions, talk about the work that they're doing, work things out, and be everyone's friend, and at the same time be productive. I mean, it's a minefield as well. Drama school wasn't particularly great. So you tried to escape. I tried to escape myself. Did you find yourself, having this freedom? Did you find yourself trying to? Oh my God,
there's so many lessons. Me, Gavin Wilkinson, Emma Tapley, and Craig Adams would all sit at the back of one of our awful text classes. I mean, it was just called text. It was just awful. We'd have some teacher just read a play at us at the front of the class. So we'd be at the back swapping clothes. And wondering if he'd noticed by the end of the lesson. Like really terrible, but because just again, if you're not interested in a certain lesson, that's really bad, isn't it? But I think the point is, some drama schools do still follow that school formula, and unfortunately, art can't be a formula.
It's not a science.
It's not a science, and following a timetable, it's hard. I remember we used to do emotional release, and then we'd have to go to a tap class, and then some people would be absolutely broken. And it's like, well, the bell's gone. Now we've got to go to tap. And it's like, okay.
And you're away from your family. You're away from everything you know. You're living in Wood Green, where you're lucky if you don't get shot on your way back to ballet.
And then people are telling you, you're this, you're that, you're that. And you've got to learn, you've got to develop, I guess, a thick skin. But then if you develop a thick skin, then you're not an actor anymore, because and you need to be vulnerable. So it's so hard. And then I've found this a lot going into, I'm not very good at auditions if the director makes me perform from day one. I cannot bear that. I think you should only really perform the material they want you to perform, especially in a musical, because you've got a lot to learn. It's got a lot. There's so much. It's not just reading a scene. And the way they don't ask you anything about yourself when you walk in, and it's very much come over from America, this kind of concept, and it's all got a bit Simon Cowell, and you walk in, it's like, go. You think, well, I don't know what you want. I don't know this. I don't know, what is it you want from me? Let's talk about this. Let's discover whether we can work together. Let's treat this like a rehearsal. And this is pre-rehearsal, so to me.
Well, we are going to be talking to Julie about some of her early jobs. We're going to drag ourselves out of the Mountview common room and onto the stage. But first, let's hear from this lovely lady.
Hello, this is Kim Ismay, and you're listening to the Show People podcast with Andrew Keats, and I hope you're having a wickedly interesting time.
Kim Ismay, appropriately chosen for that transition. Mamma Mia. Now, well, hang on a sec. There is one particular job I saw, which I was like, am I going to ask her about this? Charlotte's Web at the Polka Theatre. And then on to Let Him Have Justice at the Cochrane Theatre. Yes. And then you played Sophie, obviously, in Mamma Mia. What kind of time span? Was that immediately after drama school that you went into those roles?
During.
You, Nana. How do you do that?
With great difficulty. I auditioned for Charlotte's Web after a recommendation from Ian Good, and got the job and had a meeting with Paul Savey.
Right.
He said, well, you're going to miss your lead in third year. I was like, okay, let me think about it. And
why? Why do you have to miss your lead? I don't understand.
Well, because that was the one that was planned out for me. And it would have clashed.
What was the role? Can you remember?
It was in Baby.
Oh.
Baby?
Yeah.
I can't remember which role, something like that. And I thought, professional job where I'm getting paid, which is what I've been working towards, or a drama school lead. I think I'm going to take the work.
Yeah.
And apparently that wasn't the decision that he wanted me to make, but I made it. Yeah. So I did it. I did that. And our devised piece that we did at, I think we did that in second year, Let Him Have Justice, was chosen for the Covent Garden Festival. And then we had to extend it. And we did it at the Cochrane Theatre. And it was amazing because we'd written it. So, yeah, it was really cool. Really enjoyed that.
And then, of course, this is where a lot of people always think of Just So, which we'll get onto a little bit. But this is where I love going through Friends CVs, where we have 2 shows that I would have never thought of you for, Mamma Mia and Fame. And the last time I felt like this was when I was with Fee. And I went, so Fra, you were in Fame. He went, yeah, I know. We don't talk about that. Like, how? So that must have been huge for you. I mean, coming out of drama school, Mamma Mia was at the Prince Edward.
Yeah,
and then the tour of Fame.
That it was just such an amazing first West End job.
Yeah,
playing Sophie and Mamma Mia, and I would love to go back and play Donna one day, just so I can say, I did the daughter and then I did the mum. Just because it's got a real fond place in my heart, and I grew up listening to ABBA. So yeah, don't care what you say, snobby people. Still like it. Fame, yeah. I did that for a while. What do you want me to say about Fame? I
mean, I'm so obviously in Fame,
I met Paul Spicer in Fame, and that was worth everything.
For everything you would then go on to do together.
Yes. Yeah. He became my stage husband. And he lives in France now. He's a bit too far away, but hey.
Hey, if you're listening in France.
Totally going to France. I'm going to go and visit him there. And I'm glad I met him, and then we did Notes from New York, and that led on to the rest of the things, really, because we did Notes from New York at the Arts Theatre. It sold out, so then we decided to put it on again at the Donmar. George Stiles happened to get a ticket that night, last minute, talked to me afterward and said, we're looking for a Cola Bird. Can you come in tomorrow? And I was like, absolutely yes.
And what the fuck's a Cola Bird?
Yeah. Went in, auditioned for this bizarre little bird and got the job. And Cameron was very much involved with that. So then Cameron knew who I was to ask me to come in for an Avenue Q audition years later. So I do believe that the things you do yourself, absolutely help.
Well, David Badella, just on the last episode, was talking about, when he was rifling through his bedroom drawers just to afford to buy bread when he was doing the Heights. Yeah. And then lo and behold, a few months later, he's picking up an Olivier Award. It's sort of, there is a strange feeling in the world at the moment, which is everyone is starting to feel like, and look, this comes up time and time again. I understand wages are important, but investing in oneself and the dividends that can come from that are also really important.
Yeah.
And just being hungry to be involved in things can pay dividends, because of course, who would have thought you doing that particular show with George seeing you as the Cola Bird? I still feel, particularly with, musical theatre anoraks out there, you are synonymous with Just So, certainly more than John Barrowman, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Because every single show I've ever done, somebody has brought in Just So to sing. It's a wonderful song. But everyone sings it like you. They put on your accent. And I'm like, why? It's like, what? Like, she's a Cola Bird. Like, she doesn't have to have that particular accent. Why have you done that? Oh, it sounds like it on the CD. Well, don't! Do it your way.
Yeah. Well, people sing it for me as well. And I always try and draw that out of them. Do your own accent. Just do whatever. But if you think Northern works for you, then do that as well.
It's not that it's Northern. It's Julie Atherton. It's like, I know what you're doing. So let's talk about Just So. Anybody who doesn't know it, I directed it a few years back, not years back, nearly a decade ago, shit. And it's the Just So stories by Rudyard Kipling. So your elephant's child was Dickie Dempsey.
Yeah. Junix Ocean was the engineer.
Who obviously no longer with us, which is very, very sad. But can I just also, you never met John Barrowman for that cast recording, did you?
Nope.
What happened?
I recorded it like we did after the show.
Yeah.
We went into the studio, very exciting. I recorded it with Junix, of course, because he played the role in the show for all that time.
Yeah.
And then the CD dropped through my letterbox and I was like, oh,
hi, John Barrowman.
I'm singing a duet with John Barrowman. I mean, I've never met the guy, but nice. Okay, great.
Was anybody else got rid of?
I don't think so.
One of my favourite things we had, Pow, of course, Pow Ammer is. Pow Ammer is a crab, everybody. I had the voice of Anthony as our crab, which was really, really lovely.
Oh,
yeah.
Anthony Drew.
Yeah.
Oh, he's so lovely.
I think it's a really underrated show. I think it's beautiful.
It's gorgeous. So cute. And the music's just so uplifting. I went to judge a competition for Tring a couple of weeks ago, and they sang a song from Just So in it, and I was like, oh my God. Like, I almost remembered my harmonies. I didn't on it. And I just remembered how uplifting and powerful that music is. It's so cute.
And you've maintained a wonderful relationship with George and Ants on other bits and pieces. What else have you been doing with them?
Well, I've always, if they call me up and say, will you do this concert for me? It's always a yes.
Yeah.
I absolutely adore them. And yeah, I've just followed their career, stayed friends with them. Yeah, they're lovely.
The thing that I quite enjoy, looking at your CV though, did you get a bit of a complex in that nearly all of the roles here are animal related in some way or another?
I never even thought of that. I am a bit of a cartoon though.
No, you're not. But I just like the idea of, guys, we need a singing animal. Julie Atherton.
She'll do it.
Is she free? No, she's like...
Hi, this is Annette Badland, and you're listening to the Show People podcast with Andrew Keats.
Okay, let's talk about it. There was a time in London where it did not matter which tube station one was on, what street that someone walked down. All I saw was your face in Avenue Q.
Sorry about that.
How? No, it was fine. And then afterwards, it was Cassidy Jansen. It was like, tell me about Avenue Q and how you got that particular role and the experiences of doing what must have been a very grueling media schedule.
Yeah. It was amazing to get that job because I was working in Blue Water selling Christmas stockings at the time. And I was it was Christmas and I was ill. I remember I had a bit of flu and I was still having to go into work because they needed me. And it was really demanding, this thing. And we ended up not getting paid for it as well, which was, this woman just did us, basically.
Her name wasn't Mrs. Claus, was it?
No, it wasn't. I think she would have paid us.
Yeah.
No, it was some awful, awful woman that, anyway. So we were being worked like dogs in this role, and because they weren't paying us, and I was just so trusting, thinking, well, they're going to pay us just before Christmas, hopefully, so that I can at least have a Christmas, and we were literally working, morning till like 11 at night, and it was such hard work, and I was bringing it home with me because we were designing Christmas stockings basically and writing, so it was like an artistic thing which I really enjoyed, but. Yeah, it was really, really hard work. And I remember my phone had run out of credit because I hadn't paid the bill. And I was like, oh, God. So anyway, I thought, well, I'll pick that up when I get paid. That'll be fine. And I thought, I just need to, I'm so miserable. And I'd got the bus home and I was so miserable. And I picked up the phone, the house phone, to call my agent one day. And I was like, right, I need to, anyway, she said, where have you been? I've been trying to get hold of you for a week. And I was like, what?
My phone has no credit.
Oh, have you? Okay. She's like, you got Avenue Q. And I was like, and I'd let that job go because it was so long ago. So I'd let it go. And then she said, yeah, you got, I was like, oh my God. It was just the best feeling because I was just in the worst possible place. That always happened to me actually when I got like the really good jobs. I've always been like, oh God, literally homeless. And so that was amazing. And yes, it was a grueling media schedule because we had to do all this underground advertising, but also we were puppeteering. So it was really difficult to improvise something and be interviewed when you've got to work it out first. You know, now I'd be fine with it. But when you've just learnt to puppeteer, it's nerve-wracking. You don't know whether you're doing it right and you're on TV or something. And it's so difficult.
Yeah, because you guys were literally everywhere, nearly every television show that was out there.
Yeah.
Challenge Annika. So were you having to do all of that work?
Brainiacs. That was a weird one.
What else? Britain's Got More Talent, Paul O'Grady show, Brainiacs. Like, were you having to do that as well as sometimes 2 show days?
Yeah, it was happening more in previews. Right. So that was what was really tiring because if it was spread out over, you know, after we'd opened and over the year, then fine. But obviously you have to advertise before you open. So yeah, it was just very tiring. I remember me and Giles losing our voices and having to have steroids to get us through the EPK.
Crikey.
Because we had to do it. We had to be there for the EPK. You know, you can't change that day. You don't have the power to do that.
I've just remembered a story that you told when you were doing a masterclass for Arian Productions about a certain part of the show that you just couldn't do.
Yeah, I've got stage fright. Yeah. Really bad stage fright. And it was when I had to do a little speech. When I was a little monster, I always wished I had a special place I could go.
Sorry, I've just gone back to my 15-year-old self. Keep talking.
I'd get to that and then go, and that's it. And turn to John Robbins, bless him, who'd be like, okay, she's gone. And then I'd just look at him like panic, like, I don't know what it is because I knew it so well. And then I started to think about what it was, and you should never think.
Yeah.
You know, just go into autopilot, let it happen and just enjoy it. But also if you start to have any doubts or nerves or anything like that, then they creep in and then that horrible baddie voice goes, you don't know what you're doing. Yeah. Everyone's looking at you and you don't know what you're doing. They think you know what you're doing, but you don't. And then I was like, what's the next line? And rather than thinking of the next line, all you're thinking of is that dialogue.
Yeah.
So yeah, I remember that they were saying, well, what is it you want? Do you want tablets for it? Or I was like, no. I just needed a couple of days off because we couldn't take them at the time because it was holidays, school holidays. But yeah, I did that. And then when I came back, I said, I need a rehearsal. That's all. I just need to know that I've done it in costume, lights and everything. And yeah, somebody was in that night, a friend of mine, David Randall. He watched that night and I got to the bit. When I was a little monster, I always wished I had a special place I could go. A special school only for monsters. And then I was fine, but I needed to take that deep breath and go, come on, you can do this. And in my head I just went, you love this bit. And so you just got to remind yourself, because you never forget the bits you really love. I mean, you may screw them up like I did once with Lucy the Slut when she's meant to say, don't let my motor idle too long. And then she walks off and I went, don't let my motor oodle too long. And then just kind of walked off laughing. Somebody's just said, did you just say motor oodle? Yeah.
Yeah, she's really big. She's a great actress, actually. I know.
Yeah.
But what, I mean, there are...
I love those moments.
It's very interesting because there's only a few people I know, and I don't really want to mention who, but that have mentioned when stage fright does come into someone's life and how debilitating...
It's horrible.
That is. I mean, what, other than the rehearsal and what sounds like a lot of British stiff upper lip, if I'm honest with you, to get through, was there anything else that you could do to make yourself feel better?
Not listen to the people that want you to fail, I think. Yeah. That's the other one. It's amazing how many people are delighted when you go wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's just confidence. That's all it is. And, everyone just thinks actors are automatically confident, and we're really not. In fact, that's probably why they're actors, because they want to be someone else and not themselves.
The act versus that's the mask, isn't it? It's the shield that we have that make us go, hi, I'm from theatre. And then you take it away after a couple of gin and tonics. Yeah. Oh, my life's so terrible. Yeah. Why? Because you're trying to keep up to this utopia.
Yeah.
And I suppose even now with, social media being so big, it's even worse.
And when you're doing interviews for shows as well, oh God, it's those. This is the question I hate. So how are you enjoying it? Yeah. Okay, let's think about that question. How am I enjoying it? Okay, so you presume I'm definitely enjoying it, because obviously you can't say you're not on the show.
I hate it.
And how are you enjoying? I don't know. I guess how? What?
I'm trying to do something. I'm trying to teach myself to ask a different question, because there's nothing worse than the never-ending question of, so what are you up to? Or what are you working on now? Which is a fine question. It's just somebody trying to find a way to talk.
Absolutely.
But it's
just timing, isn't it, that question?
Timing, and also it means that all of our conversations start on, are you currently being successful?
Yeah.
Rather than, you happy at the moment?
Yeah.
And actually talking about someone's happiness is very different to talking about what someone's doing. Yeah. Because I can have 3 shows on and be at my lowest that I've ever been.
Yeah.
Or I can be on top of the entire world and have no work. They're not and they're not parallel linked. But there are times when, people have asked me, what are you working on? And I go, I'm doing a little show in a room above a pub. Oh, it's all right. Something bigger will come along. No, I'm really happy working on this lovely little play with these lovely actors.
It depends who you're with and what you're doing and why you're doing it and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, at the moment, I feel I'm just getting back to myself again, because I think I lost myself for a bit after a bad breakup a few years ago. Yeah. And I've been on quite a journey aside from theatre. Just learning about new things, discovering things, a bit of a spiritual journey sometimes and sometimes not. But just discovering who I am again and not listening to everybody else telling me who I am. And that got me down a bit, because I was like, why is everybody telling me who I am and who I was? And everyone defines me as this actress that just because I'm not forefront of the West End at the moment, maybe I'm not doing so well. I think I was hanging around with the wrong people at one point. Another awful boyfriend. I just feel like I'm back to me again. I've got the spark back. I've got the want to try again. And also, I'm not just doing pick me. I'm doing my own thing. I'm going my own way. And if people want to come with me, great. And if they don't, I don't really mind. I'm just going to have fun doing it. And I might fall completely on my arse and it might go wrong, but it doesn't matter, because I've got amazing friends and family around me. And the older you get, the less you care about what people think. Yeah. And I really used to care what people thought. And now I only care a little. Mm-hmm. I just check whether I think they're a decent human being, and then I care.
Yeah. And sometimes something will come, someone will say something often without even realizing, and then you'll realize, oh, that really hurt. And even if it's a joke, and it'll be like, I love this person, but that comment, because I think it comes from...
Yeah, and I don't berate them for that comment. I just start to think, okay, me. So what have I done? And it was only me putting limitations on myself. It's only me saying that I can only do acting and that's it. That's the only thing I'm allowed to do. And then when I thought, of course I want to be a director, and of course I can do that. And I just need to say, and I need to put it out there and say I can do it. And then people will trust that that's what you want to do. And okay, good. That was easy. It's actually easy. So I've just been, I guess, looking inside myself and thinking, what is it you really want to do? Because I've always said I cannot write, I cannot do this, because I failed English, because I wasn't interested to write a story. I'm not very good at writing flowery stuff. Like, I'm very precise.
So don't write flowery stuff.
I'm better at editing.
Yeah.
Because if you can say something in one word, I'd rather say that than, in 67 paragraphs. So I've just realized that, well, I can do all this. So I'm doing it. Basically, I'm trying it and I'm collaborating, which I think is very important in this business.
And also, isn't it awful where I hear so many performers talking about that they feel like they've had their time. And I suppose because you have done so much, I think you forget actually how young you are at the same time. Like, I mean that really sincerely. Like, I'm not sitting here talking with 70-year-old telling me about, the 9th time I worked at Drury Lane. You've got still so much ahead of you. And I sometimes worry with...
thanks for saying that.
It's true. Like, you're not Millicent Martin yet. We're not going to put you on in a wheelchair, and now singing Wait a Bit for the 84th time.
Wait a bit, she says.
I've seen people do it that way as well. We've got so much life ahead of us. And I suppose we worry that perhaps we were once fashionable. There was a time when, Paul Taylor Mills was saying, he was saying, God, there was a time when it was just us creating this stuff on the fringe. Now there are younger, prettier people out there doing it. And we're going, don't forget about us, though.
Yeah.
We were doing that. Just our bills have got more expensive, but we still want to do this.
Absolutely.
Oh, it's not fair. And now for something completely different. It's time for me to get my tips out.
Oh.
That's right. Here are my theatrical tips of things to see this July 2018. Home, I'm Darling by Laura Wade. How happily married are the happily married? Every couple needs a little fancy to keep their marriage sparkling. But behind the gingham curtains, things start to unravel. And being a domestic goddess is not as easy as it seems. It stars Catherine Parkinson and plays from the 24th of July to the 5th of September in the Dorfman at the National Theatre. For more information and tickets, visit nationaltheatre.org.uk. Consent by Nina Raine. This modern classic, Consent, makes a timely and triumphant transfer to the Harold Pinter Theatre for a strictly limited season. What is justice, what is vengeance, and which is right? Friends take opposing briefs in a contentious legal case. The key witness is a woman whose life seems a world away from theirs. At home, their own lives begin to unravel as every version of the truth is challenged. Consent takes a searing look at the law whilst putting modern relationships into the dock. Plays 18th of June until the 11th of August at the Harold Pinter Theatre. For more information and tickets, visit atgtickets.com. The Learman Trilogy by Stefano Massini, in an English version by Ben Power. The story of a family and a company that changed the world, told in 3 parts on a single evening. Sam Mendes directs Simon Russell Beale, Adam Godley and Ben Miles, who play the Learman brothers, their sons and grandsons. On a cold September morning in 1844, a young man from Bavaria stands on a New York dockside, dreaming of a new life in the new world. He is joined by his 2 brothers and an American epic begins. 163 years later, the firm they establish, Learman Brothers, spectacularly collapses into bankruptcy and triggers the largest financial crisis in history. Plays in the Littleton at the National Theatre from the 4th of July to the 22nd of September. For more information and tickets, visit nationaltheatre.org.uk. Have you got a show you want us to know about? Just email info@arian-productions.com and we'd love to share your show with our loyal listeners.
Hi, I'm Alex from Theatre Accounts. We are specialist accountants for the entertainment industry. Some people say the best accountants for the entertainment industry. And here is our tax tip of the week. It's early June and summer is hopefully on its way amongst all of the storms. And the next storm in line is the July payment on account. This is a requirement created by HMRC that still baffles so many people. You may or may not have one to pay. Our advice is to complete your 17-18 tax return as early as possible and definitely before the 31st of July, as you could reduce your payment on account if you've earned less for the 17-18 tax year. You might be able to reduce it to 0, or you may even be due a refund. If you need any help, please get in touch. If you're considering an accountant for the first time, or you are thinking of moving accountants, it really couldn't be easier to join us. Feel free to get in touch for a free chat. You can contact us via our website, www.theatreaccounts.co.uk, and you can find us on Twitter, @theatreaccounts. If you are a new client to us, we will also give you a discount off your first year's fee. Just quote the Show People podcast.
So, Julie Atherton, I want to talk about your commitment to new work. Because I think, from looking at your CV, there are so many pieces here, from Ordinary Days, Tomorrow Morning, Lift. What is it that attracts you to these pieces?
I think it's the fact that I didn't really enjoy musical theatre as a great pastime when I was growing up. It wasn't, I always found it a bit dated. Musical theatre, to everybody that's not in musical theatre, is The Sound of Music, Oklahoma. It's all these old-fashioned musicals where women are portrayed as these pretty people, you know, and it's quite frustrating. But also it's just really dated, and it's an art form that doesn't seem to move forward, and it is moving forward. It's just in the public eye, it's not. And I just get, when a lot of my mates were like, musical theatre, God, I don't like musical theatre. I'm like, oh, that's such an annoying thing to say, because that's like saying you don't like film.
It's exactly the same, yeah. Like,
there is a film out there that you like. There is a genre of film, but apparently musical theatre is a genre. And I don't agree. I think it's a format. I think musical theatre is an art form. And some musical theatre you will like, no matter who you are, no matter how well-ard you are. You know, you're into like your male action movies, great. Well, then it's probably a male action movie type musical that you like. But if you don't like music, then fair enough, you can say you don't like musical theatre.
Yeah.
But if you like music, but you don't like musical theatre, then you're just not educated enough in musical theatre. That's all. And that's not your fault. That's the media's fault. And that's the producer's fault for not saying, let's take a chance on something new. And I get it, because it's so expensive and theatres are so expensive, ridiculously expensive, because London is ridiculously expensive.
Yeah.
But there is a musical out there for you, no matter who you are, unless you don't like music, and then you're just weird.
Yeah.
There's something wrong with you.
But then also what's just occurred to me is perhaps the reason that so many producers and directors have thought, let's get Julie Atherton for this role, is because you in yourself are not the traditional woman that we would associate perhaps with traditional musical theatre.
Yes.
As in, you have your foibles, your quiddities, your comedy, your immense understanding of drama.
I'm flawed.
And flawed and vulnerable.
Yeah, and women aren't allowed to be flawed. You know, if women are flawed, they're like, oh, you're never going to get married.
And also, I suppose the fact that so much musical theatre is written from a male perspective. So, you know, even in the classic pieces like The King and I, for example, you know, yes, you have a character that is nervous of, you know, meeting this extraordinary character. What does he do? He puts his big male arm around her and dances, and lo and behold, everyone is happy.
The man is here to save the day.
I'll see you very soon, and everything will be well.
Oh, thank you for doing that, and not in a rapey way.
Even though it kind of is, even though it's done via waltz. But then that's why I like, you know, I suppose then that puts you in a very specific bracket where,
which is a shame.
But then I'll also ask, and this might be controversial, having something like Sister Act, for example, and I know the character is lovely, and lo and behold, she can sing, and everything's lovely. An actress of such integrity that has brought so much of herself to even these roles being written differently after you've played them because of what you've brought. Some of the commercial stuff must feel a bit boring and a little bit unsatisfying.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it does. And I try to bring as much as I can. And sometimes directors love that.
Yeah.
And sometimes they really don't. Yeah, sometimes men don't. Yeah, it's difficult because the patriarchy still exists, and I'm sorry to bang on about it, and I'm sure every male is like literally their penis is shriveling right now. And
mine's even longer, actually.
And I'm not having a go at all, and I don't want. I'm just trying to fight for women. I'm not trying to fight men at all. I respect a lot of the people I've worked with, but I also don't respect some of the people I've worked with, you know, but you're not allowed to say that, are you? But I just feel that there's a lot to say.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot more to say. There's a lot more that women need to say. And also being a woman in this industry and being respected for what you do, it can only reflect well on men, because actually in the end a man, you know, you don't have to be this person that you've been brought up to believe you are, which is strong and you will not cry and you will not do. It's like, oh my God, we're the same. We just have different anatomy, and we just, sometimes we have different way, but it's learnt behavior, and we need to unlearn this. Well, we need to learn more about each other, basically, and learn more about the deeper connections that we have, rather than going on about the stereotypes. Yeah. And that's what theatre is about. And that's the only voice you have as an actor, is in theatre, is to get your voice out there, because in politics it doesn't work, in education it doesn't work. Like it's all the patriarchy. And if the patriarchy is running theatre as well, it's like, well, what chance do we have, really? And I'm sick of having to fight for funny lines in shows because people just don't see women as funny. And if it's written for a man, you end up actually getting a more interesting insight into something. Like if I got a part that was actually written for a man, it's actually more interesting. Whereas if it's written for a woman, it's less interesting, because they tend to, the women parts facilitate the jokes for the men, in comedy I'm talking about, obviously.
Yeah. So a show that I thought was beautifully balanced, which I still believe needed work, but the potential that was there was extraordinary, was Lift as a musical. And I know you were heavily involved in not only obviously playing the role, but obviously developing it and from such an early stage.
And championing it. Craig Adams, who is so underrated as a musical theatre writer, he's absolutely incredible. I think he's the next Sondheim in this country. I really do. I think he's absolutely incredible. And he's so overlooked because I don't know why. I'm still trying to work out why, but I just feel that we're still like, in this country, it's like, so who is the British musical theatre writer in this country? It's Andrew Lloyd Webber. And when he came up with the Other Palace concept, I was like, great, so there's going to be loads of new work. And I'm just still seeing American writers coming in. I'm like, well, that's wonderful. And it's still brilliant that these up and coming American writers are coming in that have kind of already kind of made their mark in America, but are coming over here. Great. But what about the British writers over here? Is it because you don't get on with them? Is it because you don't, what is it? Why won't you just give this work a chance? What is it? I'm still asking that question. I don't know.
Well, talking about British writers, one particular production which we both have a huge amount in common with is The Hired Man.
The Hired Man.
Which, I mean, just superb casting. It was one of those casting announcements that made me go, oh, David Hunter, Julie Atherton, amazing. Like, two salt of the earth. What you see is what you get. The role of Emily, which, for Howard Goodall, writing that musical back in 1986. Claire Burt, obviously, Claire Burt playing May, for example. A wonderful musical. An example of, and I know Howard is from an Oxbridge background, but very much a liberal man who, at the foundation of his work is love, and Melvyn Bragg's book. Tell me about playing Emily in... It was
incredible. It started off in Colchester and then it went to Leicester.
Curve.
Yeah. And it was just such a good role to play. She gets to grow old. So I get to go through everything. I had an affair. I died,
And that's okay.
Yeah. And like, I got to start off as this happy-go-lucky, bring the comedy to it as well. Not the comedy, but the lightheartedness to it. The humanity. And also she was flawed as well, and also blamed for a lot. And, it was just such a rich piece to do. And for me, it was fantastic acting role, just to go through the aging process, which is amazing to do on stage anyway, to play something so young and vivacious and then die of, this debilitating disease and, become older and have learnt from her mistakes. And it was a great role to play. I really enjoyed it.
And also talking about, the the patriarchy, as it were. You know, there are some men out there that, of course, and what we've got to be careful of is there are men who write for women who have observed women.
Absolutely, yeah.
And what I love about Howard and Melvin Bragg with The Hired Man, even in the 80s, you know, yes, she does have an affair, but her husband understands.
Absolutely.
You know, and she's not called a slag. You know, yes, of course, within the production you have, you know, that feeling that you are not doing what a Christian would do in that time.
Absolutely, and in life that happens. And, you know, when that does happen in life, you do get called all sorts. And same with a man, you know, you do get called all sorts of things like that happen, whatever. It's not about that. I'm not slugging off the patriarchy like that, of course. Yeah. You know, of course there's amazing men that have written for women. Of course. All I'm saying is it okay if we have a chance as well and not be slagged off for it, and not if you make one mistake as a writer, director, actor, I can't think of any other role right now. Yeah. That you're written off straight away, because men aren't written off straight away. And that's all I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to ball bust here. I'm just trying to champion women, that's all. And I do believe that women over time haven't been allowed to champion other women, because unfortunately there's only one role out there, and sometimes people do pull the ladder up after them.
Do you feel because, you know, from talking to you socially as well as today, do you feel like finally now, from all of your experiences working, you know, in rehearsal rooms that have been difficult, do you feel like perhaps the reason you want to talk about it so much is inside it's almost like a firework going off saying, I've been saying this my whole life.
Yes.
So I understand. It's no different to, you know, I'm not a woman, but I'm a gay man, and I've had my head kicked in enough times from straight men saying you can't be a puff. And when you finally start seeing gay characters on TV that are actually like you, rather than just all like, you know,
I'm just so gay.
I'm just so gay.
Oh, someone's at my bottom.
And you go, well, there's nothing wrong with that.
I'm so bored of that humour. Is that really? Is that still funny?
But then you see, I saw a very English scandal recently, the story of Jeremy Ford.
I want to see that.
Oh, you've got to see it. It's fucking
brilliant. That's my next Netflix thing.
And I get to go, hang on, oh God, real gay men in historic situations where we're not comedy. It sounds silly, but as a woman, to be fighting for the integrity of just something that is your gender, something you can't control, makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like it's a time of revolution.
Yeah, and I'm excited about it. That it's not. I don't feel like I'm fighting like I felt like for the last few years. You're fighting when you don't do anything about it. When you start to do something about it, I feel like I'm no longer fighting. I feel like I'm just going, I'm okay with this. Are you okay with this? Mm-hmm. And that's all I want to do. And I don't, I'm working on a show which is all about women's rights. And I'm getting an all-female team together. Females, get in touch, please. Non-white females especially, please get in touch.
So can you say what the show is? Because I know you can't say what it is. So guys, if you want to subscribe to a show that we know nothing about, but you are really passionate about this, you're passionate
really
about
passionate.
getting...
I'm so passionate, and I want it to happen as soon as possible, of course, because I'm very impatient. I'm an Aries.
and have you got producers involved, or are you looking for producers?
I have producers that are interested. Great. I would really like them all to be female, if that's okay.
Sure.
And at the moment, I'm really looking for... Am I allowed to say this?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit of an advert. But I'm really looking for a non-white choreographer who's innovative, who's got something different to show, who's happy to work with other women and not pull the ladder up after them, you know, who's happy to be collaborative and gentle and loving and kind and work with each other and tell our story and not make men feel like they're having a go at, you know. I want men to leave the theatre thinking, wish I was a woman, you know, rather than, oh God, I wish I didn't have a peen. You know, well, I don't want anyone to feel anything of the sort. I just want this collaborative thing, just to get the word out there that we're all right, actually, women. We don't have to just have babies and look after you. You know, we're all right on our own. And also, if you are a rap artist, spoken word lyricist, I'm also looking for that. I have a beautiful female MD, but I also need somebody that can do that kind of thing as well, because I want everything, all styles.
Well, listeners, if you are a female creative, please do check the show notes and email me info@arian-productions.com. If you are a female creative, and especially if you're from a BAME background, I will, of course, forward your CV and details directly to Julie about this project.
Hi, this is David Bedella, and you're listening to the Show People podcast with Andrew Keats.
Well, it's time for the Show People podcast platform, the part of the show that would usually be dedicated to a new composer or writer. However, those of you who listen to the show know that I work very closely with the wonderful actor and comedian Steve First. Now, I spent the other weekend with Steve and his gorgeous wife, Rebecca, in their new home, which, of course, turned into a drunken affair spent until the early hours in their music room.
Do you drink?
Well, you know, with a glass of Malbec in your hand, that we both do. And Steve and I, at about 2 o'clock in the morning, were playing through Matilda, as we do, because, of course, Steve played Mr. Wormwood in Matilda. And he went, I've got to play you something. Now, this is a Show People podcast exclusive. Julie, I can't wait for you to listen to this. This is something that Steve First created for the West End production of Matilda before he left.
Ever wondered why the cast of a hit West End musical sounds so damn good? It's because they warm up their voices. For the very first time, Shitty Discs presents Matilda Warm-Up Exercises. All those vocal warm-up exercises that makes this 7 Olivier Award-winning show sound so good. Exercises like and of course, Under the baton of MD Alan Berry, you'll hear scales and warm-up arpeggios that once heard will stay in your skull forever. Enjoy Aha as it spirals ever upwards and upwards and upwards before coming back to earth and enjoying Mima. Then enjoy Tita. How about a little Viva? What's that? Caesar? How about Biba? Before finishing with Dita. Then enjoy the internationally renowned Tea 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 Ha. Ever wanted to hear the way you look tonight with no words? Then wait no longer. What's that? You want the alphabet sung really quickly? How about this? Hold on tight. It gets faster and faster. Then hear the cast recite Al Berry's telephone number over and over again. Before crescendoing to a huge climax with Bella Signora. You can listen to all of the warm-ups all of the time with Matilda warm-ups. And remember, if you order before the end of the year, we'll throw in a very special free bonus CD. Matilda warm-up tongue twisters featuring Floppy Fluffy Puppy. The perennial Good Blood Bad Blood. The anatomical lips, the teeth, the tip of the tongue. But hold on. How about mixing that up a little bit? With the lips, the teeth and the lips. How about red lorry, yellow leather? Think that's taxing? Then why don't you give red lorry, yellow lolly a try? Pretty difficult. But the fun doesn't stop there. It's Bumblebee time. Before finishing with the impossible Silly Sheep. That's the Matilda vocal warm-ups. It's not available in the shops because it's rubbish. But if you'd like to own Matilda warm-ups, both discs, then please send £89.95 to Steve First and he'll make sure he sends you a copy.
Very, very good.
Amazing.
Thank you, Steve First, king of comedy. Are you a writer or a composer or artist who creates original work? Well, we want to hear from you. Please send any recordings that you have with full permission to use on the show, along with some information about yourself and your work, to info@arian-productions.com, as we're passionate about supporting new work and sharing it with our loyal listeners.
Hello, this is Steve First, and you are listening to the Show People podcast with Andrew Keats. A man so marvellous, he's putting bums on seats. Whether it be parakeets eating halal meats or premier athletes submitting VAT receipts. It's the Show People podcast with Andrew Keats.
If there is a young person that perhaps isn't the typical classical musical theatre female that's out there, what do you want them to hear? What do you want young people to hear that are coming up into our industry?
Oh, you know you can do it. Do it yourself.
Yeah.
That's it. Do it yourself.
And what do you want to do in the next, say, 5 or 10 years?
Do it myself.
Yeah.
I'm working on a few things, a few projects that I've decided that I can do because I've spent years going, oh, no, I couldn't do that because I'm just an actor. So I've decided to ignore my old self and embrace the new me, which is the me that was possibly 8 years old, you know, that had all the dreams. And, you know, for everybody along the way, people poo-poo your dreams, don't they? I just said poo-poo, but you know what I mean? They... yeah, what am I doing? But they do quash your dreams because they tell you that you're this and you're that, and you think, okay, yeah, that's what I am because somebody else told me, because some white male told me that that's what I am, which is usually the case. And after a while, you start to tell yourself that you're not that, and don't do that. Just don't do that. Just follow your actual dreams. And if they fail, at least you followed, and you failed royally in your own way. But at least it wasn't because somebody else told you should do this and then you failed at that, whatever. Failure's good. I'm really sorry to hark on about the patriarchy. I'm really, really sorry to do that. And I don't mean to give any man who actually likes women a complex. But it's that competition that that's in any other industry apart from art, which is, I will do this for myself, I will do it on my own, and I will succeed. And if you don't succeed, you are nothing. And in art, it should be about collaboration. It really should be. And the moment you are not good at collaboration, I think it kind of fails. And it's just about opening yourself up to who you really are and what stories you want to tell, and being okay with not being privileged. And, anybody who's privileged just gets that start in life straight away. Yeah. But anybody who's not has to work a little bit harder for it, of course. But wow, isn't it more interesting? to hear real people's stories other than, oh, I once dropped my lollipop. You know?
And also, it must have been tricky because, again, knowing some of the shows that you've done, there must have been, and again, I'm not naming any specific shows, so do go through Julie's CV to work out what I'm alluding to. But sometimes there are shows there where you go, oh, a new musical about a girl who doesn't love herself because the boy doesn't like her and they live in an apartment and aren't they kooky?
She has to work on herself.
Yeah,
but the man never has to work on themselves.
Because he's
why
cool
should
and sexy.
Because he has a penis. And penises are so cool.
I mean, as a gay man, penises are, I do endorse how cool they are.
I mean, they are great.
Great things. They are.
But so are also vaginas. Sorry. Sorry that's become a dirty word. And penises haven't, but I assure you they are pretty cool.
Vaginas do extraordinary things. Well, ironically, onto the next part of the show, my favourite things, of which a vagina has never usually been one. Julie Atherton, I am going to strand you on tour.
What? Straddle me? No,
maybe
okay.
later.
Right.
Maybe if I open the other bottle of the bag. I'm going to strand you on tour in Whitley Bay. Okay. I need to know the things that you need to survive. Now, you already get a copy of the Bible and the complete works of William Shakespeare. So you've got some doorstops.
Both totally useless to me.
Great, though, if you need to keep the door open on a very hot day like today.
Absolutely. And if you need to roll a cigarette.
Can do that using Leviticus 12. But on top of that, you'll also... I need to know what your favourite album, film, book, play... musical and luxury item is. And we're going to start. What would be the album?
The album? Oh my God. This is so hard. You can't do that to me.
I can.
You're making me choose between my children.
Yeah.
I think Jeff Buckley.
Oh, yeah? Which particular album?
Grace.
Any particular songs that you love from Grace?
Oh, pretty much the whole album. I remember being taken on a journey by somebody who introduced me to that album, and we just put candles round and listened to the whole thing, got very drunk, and just purely listened to it. He's just incredible. The journey that he takes you on musically, because it feels like you go in every single direction.
Yeah.
And everybody can relate to him.
And what will be the film?
Oh, no. This is so hard. You
know.
Can't do this to me. Shawshank Redemption.
A popular choice.
It is a popular choice, I know, but it really stuck with me, that film, because it started off, I have to say, I started off going, oh, this is a bit dull. And then by the end of it, you're like, I love this. Yeah. But anything about injustice, I've got a real passion for people being treated badly and then winning over the odds. Yeah. So, yeah, I guess that's the catalyst for any film. But, you know, obviously, I feel like I'm shooting myself in the foot here by coming up with all these male writers. But, you know, we're still waiting. We're still waiting.
And what about the book?
God. At the moment, I can't do favourite. I'm not doing favourite. But obviously, at the moment, I'm looking into the suffragettes.
Yeah.
And I'm loving Emily Pankhurst's book.
Yeah.
But also, oh God, I'm finding this so hard. Andrew, you're ruining my life.
Sorry. What would be the play?
Anything by Morgan Lloyd Malcolm, because I absolutely adore her. She is amazing. And I'm just going to say it hasn't really been written yet.
Mm-hmm.
Play I want to see. Because yes, I have seen amazing plays, but I'm just sick of saying the same. Yeah, I'm just sick of saying the same olds. We've seen that. We all know they're good. Yeah. Well done. Let's move forward and let's see some amazing female playwrights now that are going to absolutely change the world and change the world for the better.
And the musical.
Okay. I'm going to say Waitress.
Wow, new piece. Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to say Waitress because I would...
Hang on. Surely, this is like, if it comes over...
I would love
Like, this
to
is
play
just
that
you,
role.
is it not?
Yeah, because I've always been... I remember when I first got the role in Mamma Mia and Bjorn said, apparently, to the MD, I'm going to go with the country girl. Because I have a bit of a country lick to my voice because I was brought up on country music.
Were you?
Dolly Parton.
So was David Badella.
Oh, really?
And I said to him, what, like
country
Boot,
music.
Scoot and Boogie? And he went, no, not the silly stuff. And I was like, all right.
John Denver and Dolly Parton. It was whatever my mum listened to, and Celtic music as well. So all that kind of like
lots of Enya.
Country. Yeah, I loved Enya.
Sail away, sail away,
quite dull now.
sail away.
Can't listen to it now. But yeah, I was brought up in that kind of Celtic kind of that. I guess that's where my voice lies.
Yeah.
So it's kind of perfect for my voice. Because musical theatre, I've always been told, oh, you're a little bit too pop. Oh, you're a little bit too country.
Really?
Yeah,
Have you had the pop
yeah.
thing?
Yeah.
That's stupid. Idiots.
Um,
Then I suppose, come to think of it, now I genuinely do commit thought to it. Look, every single country song, it's all about a story in some way or another.
And that's why I love it, because I come at it as an actor, and music has to make you feel something. If it's just and just like one lyric, then nah. Yeah. Although that's great when you're out in a club
Sure.
and you can only remember the words to one line and it does it through the whole song, great. But I love a story. I love country music. So yeah, Waitress I love, and also it's an all-female team. Mm-hmm. It's quite empowering. She doesn't end up with the guy. I love that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just something about I love Sarah Bareilles, however you say it. Is that right? Bareilles?
No one knows. It's fact.
Yeah.
No one knows.
I think she's
Even her
amazing.
parents.
I love her music. But yeah, Waitress, because it's an all-female team, that really struck a chord with me. And when it comes over, whenever that is, I'd love to at least have a chance of being seen for it.
If there's not, I will organise like a genuine petition / protest.
Well, it depends what casting director, whether they think, I'm enough for them.
They'll probably give it to a boy in drag.
Yeah,
so that's
probably.
What we need more men on stage. And what would be the luxury item
that I would take on a desert island?
Well, I mean, of course, I'm not ripping off Desert Island Discs. This is Whitley Bay Discs. So you're stranded in your Whitley Bay hotel room, probably on tour with...
What would be my thing? Well, I'd need to hear music. So...
You've got something... You have the ability to play music, so that's a gift.
All right, so I don't need to bring a piano.
Oh, well, a piano is different. That means playing your own music.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I'd love to go back to when I was a child and I used to sit in front of the piano. But if I was on a desert island, I wouldn't have my sister telling me to shut up all the time. And my mum saying, oh, God, you have to play that again. So it would be nice to just have that freedom, but nobody telling me that, I'm annoying.
This is West End producer, and you're listening to the Show People podcast with the sumptuous, the savoury, and the slightly sugary Andrew Keats, dear.
Well, it's time for everyone's favourite part of the show.
Oh.
Funny 5 minutes.
Wowzers.
You must answer all of the questions I'm about to ask you as quickly as possible within 5 minutes. Now, you are only allowed 3 passes, so use them wisely, as during this time, I'm going to ask you some of the world's most obscure, random, and frankly obscene questions that I've ever asked. Julie Atherton, let's play 35 minutes. Julie Atherton,
oh God.
Do you have a favourite sport?
No, I hate sport. I can't catch, I can't throw.
If somebody narrated your life, who would it be?
You.
What is the strangest thing you've ever had in your mouth?
Oh, wow. Please don't think sexually. The strangest thing I've ever in my mouth is a sea urchin.
Why did you have a sea urchin in your mouth?
I went deep sea diving for sea urchins and I had to cut them open and eat the eggs.
Nice.
It was great.
If you were an animal, what would you be? And you can't include previous characters from your CV.
Well, I am a worm, but if I could be any other animal, I would be a cat.
What is your favourite Disney film?
Ooh, I guess I'd say The Lion King right now.
Yeah. In fact, Stevie Webb always told me a great story that the is just the lion and the cheetah. So if you speak Afrikaans, Lion King is a pretty boring show. Where's the strangest place you've ever had a wee?
In your toilet. Oh, no, I mean, I'm northern, so down many a back alley.
Do you believe in aliens?
Yes.
If you ordered a pizza, what would it be?
Well, nowadays it'd have to be a vegan pizza, sorry.
Sondheim or Andrew Lloyd Webber?
Ooh, Sondheim.
Do you have a teddy bear?
Yes.
What's he called?
I've got lots.
Have you really got loads of teddy bears?
Yeah, but they're not with me.
Well, like a shrine of teddy bears. Who is the ugliest person you've ever kissed?
You can't ask that.
Is that a pass?
You just can't ask that. That has to be a pass.
Pass. It was Simon Lipkin and you know it.
I've never kissed him.
Oh, not even on stage?
Oh, maybe on stage.
There you go. Sum up Donald Trump in one word.
Cunt.
There you go. Do you believe in ghosts?
Yes.
Have you ever seen a ghost?
No.
Oh. What was the last lie you told? That you never kissed Simon Lipkin.
The last lie I told was that I was talented.
Star Trek or Star Wars?
Star Wars.
Wrong. No, just wrong. It's definitely Star Trek. Cats or dogs?
Cats.
Very good.
I like both, though. I can't discriminate. Sorry.
Multi.
But I've got cats,
lover.
so I have to say that.
What's your favourite season?
Summer.
Why summer?
Because I hate winter.
Hate winter. She hates the
I
cold.
love the sun. I hate the cold.
Who would play you in a movie of your life?
I would.
You would. No choice.
Yeah.
What would be your last meal?
Oh, God. I mean, as a vegan now, I used to say steak and chips. I think it would have to be just salt and vinegar crisps.
Oh, no. Do you think a swan could actually break someone's arm?
Yeah.
Nah, never. Never.
Really?
A swan couldn't break it. Think about it. Like, no. How do you like your eggs in the morning?
I'm vegan.
Vegan? Oh, yeah. So fertilised, I suppose.
Get me pregnant!
Who is the best Doctor Who?
I don't care.
She doesn't care. Pass?
Yeah,
no Doctor?
I just don't care. It's not even a pass. I just don't care. Sorry.
What do you think the meaning of life is?
Wine.
Wine. Well, ladies and gentlemen, sadly, that noise tells me that is the end of the show. I know, outrageous.
What do you mean?
Part 2, coming soon.
Yes.
So sadly...
I haven't said all I need to say.
I know. Well, we'll just have to tweet it, because I know how much you love social media.
Hate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, please, studio audience, go mad for the one, the only, Miss Julie Atherton!
And the crowd went wild.
Didn't they just?
Did they? Did they
Julie,
really though?
Julie, how can people keep up to date with all that you're up to?
Well, I have a new website.
No, what is it?
Yeah, well, it's still the same website, julieatherton.com.
Yeah.
But it's been redesigned by CB Productions. I can't remember.
Somebody that was
CB
cheap.
Management. But she was amazing. And please, if you need a website, go to her.
So, julieatherton.com. And what's your Twitter account?
Julie_Atherton. Sorry, it's really boring.
It used to be Jolie Worm, didn't it?
Well, yeah. I just had to grow up at some point.
Never.
But
Just once again, thank you so much for coming on, you bloody wonderful woman. Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget you can follow me on Twitter at Andrew Keats. You can follow the show at ShowPeopleUK and use hashtag ShowPeoplePodcast. You can send me an email to info@arian-productions.com or like the Show People Podcast Facebook page at facebook.com/ShowPeoplePodcast, where you can join in the listeners forum and discuss the issues that we've discussed on the show today, including women in the theatre. Please, I really want to hear from you. Get involved. Now, I've been over the moon seeing so many different listeners all over the UK and indeed the world buying our Show People podcast mugs. It really, really does make a difference. And it's really humbling to think this little podcast that I dreamt up on a tube is being listened to all over the world. Please, of course, it does cost us to create the show and bring you these guests, so do consider getting a Show People podcast mug. Just go to arian-productions.com/shop and you can get a mug or a pen. Or if you've got too many mugs, why don't you just make a little donation and help us do more at Arian Productions, and just go to arian-productions.com/donate to help. This podcast is produced by Arian Productions Limited, dedicated to giving opportunities to theatre makers. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget to hit subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to us on so you never miss an episode. And also, please leave us a little review, as that really helps those magical Apple algorithms. Until next time, listeners, just be better. Sorry. What's that? And again. I hate Bella Signora.
Yeah.
Like it's just...
Bella Signora. I'd rather have a leg off. My favourite is Daddy's got a head like a ping pong ball.
No, my favourite is Mrs. Puggy Wuggy has a square cut punt. Not a punt cut square, but a square cut punt. It's round at the base and smooth at the front. Mrs. Puggy Wuggy has a square cut punt.
I've never heard that one. This is every day of my life.